I was so far behind the times, I thought I'd
managed to escape the wreckage before the single-engine Cessna burst into flames on the runway. The pilot had called into the airport reporting a fire on board. He managed to escape without injury, but one of his passengers suffered minor burns and smoke inhalation, and 2 others also suffered minor injuries. The small plane is demolished. Motorists beware, the Kennedy roadwork is
surviving a plane crash at the Joliet Airport. Their single-engine Cessna 182 caught fire this afternoon about 5 miles from the airfield. The pilot, Dr. Frank Wright of Naperville, radioed he was in trouble but managed to land. Witnesses rescued the family before the plant burst into flames. Tonight, the FAA is trying to determine what caused that fire that led to the crash. Day 1 of the massive Kennedy Express baseball
tonight after a harrowing attempt to get there by air yesterday. Their rented light plane crashed at Joliet Airport, and as Bob Petty reports, this time they're staying on the ground.
Repacking to resume their vacation began early at the Wright House in Naperville. For the 3 Wright girls and their father, Dr. Frank Wright, the crash of their Florida-bound vacation airplane was a frightening experience.
We started seeing sparks come out from underneath the instrument panel. As soon as I saw the sparks, we declared an emergency.
The Wrights' rented Cessna airplane crashed shortly after taking off from the DuPage County Airport en route to Clearwater, Florida for a week of spring vacation. The small fire filled their cabin with dense smoke. It was difficult to breathe and impossible to see.
Oh no, I've never been so scared in my life. Just like looking out the windows. The runway looks so far away.
Dr. Wright, a former Navy pilot and long-time flyer whose hobby is rebuilding airplanes, turned back to Joliet's airport. There, he crash-landed. There were no serious injuries. Dr. Wright suffered a minor burn on one foot, 13-year-old Susan a bump on the forehead. Only 2 of the family's 6 pieces of luggage survived the crash. Music, textbooks, even a personal diary and a favorite toy all fell victim to the burning plane.
I lost my CD player and all my CDs, but my homework's gone now.
The family's decision to drive as opposed to fly on their spring vacation break was almost, but not quite, unanimous. The decision to drive as opposed to try again to fly to Florida was made for several reasons. Driving is less costly than last-minute flight cost. Their living quarters are already paid for. And while no one said so, perhaps sticking to the ground this time could be a little less nerve-wracking. Bob Petty, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Well, despite the close call, all the Wrights say they are a flying family and have no reluctance to take to the air again. Jim?
Once again, Chicago police have captured some suspected criminals by...
Naperville doctor and his 3 daughters suffered only minor injuries today after walking away from a plane crash in Joliet. All 4 were in this Cessna 182 single-engine plane when it crash-landed on a grass field this afternoon near Joliet Airport. Dr. Frank Wright and his 3 daughters, aged 9 to 16, escaped from the plane seconds before it burst into flames. The 4 had left DuPage County Airport and were headed for Georgia when they encountered trouble near Joliet. Wright requested an emergency landing after noticing sparks under the craft's control panel. Cause of the fire is not yet known. Wright and the girls were treated for only minor injuries.
Anyone who traveled...
Injuries. Dr. Wright suffered burns on his foot. 13-year-old Susan suffered a bruise on her forehead. Their rented Cessna burned after an emergency landing at Joliet Airport. Shortly after taking off from DuPage County Airport, fire broke out in the cockpit.
Little by little, the plane began to fill with smoke. And as it began to fill with smoke, we were debating with whether to open the windows or keep the windows closed. After it got so much smoke inside that we were all gasping for breath, we opened the windows.
Flying blindly, Dr. Wright managed to get the plane down.
Well, I had my eyes closed, so I wasn't really seeing anything, but I felt, I could hear us skidding across the runway, and I could feel it too.
Oh no, I've never been so scared in my life.
Despite the accident, the Wrights never thought of canceling their vacation. This morning, they repacked a few items saved from the crash and decided to leave as soon as possible, but this time closer to the ground.
If you're remembering what happened, then it seems pretty scary to go back in a plane so soon.
The family's decision to drive as opposed to fly on their spring vacation break was almost, but not quite, unanimous. But to continue this vacation, they just decided they'd rather switch than fly. In Naperville, Bob Petty, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.